What's going on, crypto miners? Welcome back. I'm joined by none other than Brandoncoin. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. Hope you're doing well as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you guys aren't familiar, Brandon Coin is a fellow content creator, fellow home miner, and he has been around even longer than me. When did you get started within the mining scene?
I started originally, it was like late 2016, early 2017. That's when I really started doing the videos. Was like right at the beginning. I think January 2017. Everything's still on my channel, but every now and then I'll go back and look. But it's been a while. It feels like yesterday.
It's been a wild roller coaster since 2017. So I can only absolutely imagine. So I invited him on, guys, today. And if you guys are familiar and you're watching this in the future, it's January 15th. So if you're telling right now, Bitcoin's about 93,000. We've had a nice pump over the last few days and giving you kind of an idea as to the time period. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to chat today with Brandon Coin about home mining in 2025, what we're looking at in 2026, and then we're actually going to jump into some solar content here because I think we're going to have some two different differentiating opinions on it, which I think is always healthy and good conversation. So, Brandon, you ready to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, 2025 as a home miner, cash cow or an absolute bust? How would you go ahead and define that? Let's talk home mining real quick. If you guys are in the market for your next home miner, I highly recommend ASICmarketplace.com. They have some of my home favorites, like the Bidax Gamma 601, the new Supra Hex 701, and look at this, the Canaan Avalon Q, one of my favorite home miners, especially for heating during the fall and winter. And they got some of the new ones out there, the Nerd Miner Nerd QX version 6.1, as well as the Beast Octa Axe. I can't wait to get one of these. Really looking forward to it. Finally, if you guys are in the market for parts, they actually just started carrying parts for home miners as well as full-size ASIC miners, power supplies, cables, adapters, as well as even control boards. Listen, when you're at checkout over at asicmarketplace.com, use the checkout code the Hobbyist Miner for $100 off. Check out the links directly down below.
There, I think for the vast majority of home miners, it was a bust. The only way you were a home miner and did good in 2025 is the winter of 2025 and just offsetting heat. Now there are some people out there that still have these ridiculously low electricity rates residential, but like the vast majority of North Carolina is well over 10, 11 cents. I'm at 14 cents. Basically, no home miners are profitable. And I think 2025 has been the big shift to lottery style mining. I think most home miners are not running anything significant anymore. It's not like it was in 2017, 2018. People aren't building these huge farms. And if they are, um, I don't know how they're doing it. It's a bust for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, looking at it overall from a home miner's perspective, not necessarily like full size ASICs or anything like that, just home mining, I totally agree with you. I mean, my electric rate went up 16% and then went up like another 10%. So I'm at like 16 to 17 cents right now at my house here. And now, granted, I do have solar and we'll get into that some more. But regardless, that doesn't impact it that much, especially on the East Coast here. And so for me, it was absolutely a challenge. I mean, I think my lowest electric bill with running more home miners here was like 390 bucks. And I think I just had my highest in a while since I ran a lot more, since the GPU days of about $555 here. And now I'm also running a bunch of AI rigs now. So like, we do have a lot more power being consumed. But yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. It's funny though, like I've definitely been able to gauge the solo miner and like home node interest just based off of YouTube videos. Like there's so much more interest in those. Have you noticed that as well?
Oh, 100%. Because like nerd miners and stuff like that, this is nothing new. These things have been out for a long time, but nobody ever wanted them. I do think the bidax craze and bringing a lot more, realistic hash power for the wattage and the cost that you're doing made a lot more sense. But I think what really drove the nail in the coffin on the solo mining is people hitting it and then proving that they hit blocks. Because I remember like when those first couple bidax blocks, I think the first one I saw was like a bidax Supra hit a block, which is like what, a 600 gigahash. It's not even a terahash unit, and it's just like, wow, that's so. If it happened once, it can happen again. So it's been a wild ride, but now it's like anything, it gets crazy really fast.
I think one thing I've noticed, like, solo mining's been around for a long time, forever really, when it comes down to since Bitcoin's infancy. You've had some availability as time has gone on with that. But I think it's a few things. One, we've had more and more of these solo miners coming out. People's budgets are significantly less in 2025. People really didn't have a lot of disposable income. So they were looking for like $500 or less, when they're looking at these miners. And I've actually seen a lot of people joining my Discord brand new to mining, and like they're coming in with a mindset of like, I'm not chasing profitability, I'm chasing solo mining and that Bitcoin block, which is very different than like going back to last bull run. Like we weren't talking about solo mining Bitcoin as much. It was real about day-to-day profitability. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. And I was almost always worried about day-to-day profitability. And it's like, does this make money right now? Can I turn this on, cash out and profit over my electric bill? How much are we profiting? Because it was always about how much you could get out of it right then and there, because it was almost like a race to the bottom. Whereas now, I mean, there's people that don't do anything but solo mine. And that's probably the way I recommend a lot of people to get started. Get you a little, and now a bidax is what, $100, $150, you can get started mining, and you get a legitimate piece of hardware that has been proven to actually work and has hit blocks in the past. Now, obviously, your chances are lottery level, but I mean, it is doing something, and you are even at a small bit contributing, to the network. So you are a part of something, which is cool.
What one or two miners come to mind for you of like impressed you the most in 2025, or that you would recommend, at this point right now? One or two.
So my favorite miner through 2025, and I think it actually came out in 2025 or it was late 2024, but the Avalon Q, for it, it's a home miner, but it also packs a serious punch. Um, but I know some people that have built out their setups on these and they're running them, because that they're so versatile. But by far, what, 90 terahash, what, 100, 1800 watts at full power, or you can dial them back to a medium and a low setting, which sounds so standard. You can run something at low, medium, and high. But for the longest time, mining hardware, you were lucky if you got a low setting. So that they definitely broke open the door on a serious home miner that doesn't look like an industrial grade, blender sitting somewhere, and it was silent, absolutely silent. So Avalon Q is my top one for 2025, and then I guess the second one that comes to mind for me in 2025 is got to be the bid axes, and basically any form or variation. Probably the gammas being like the most popular. It's like if you are a solo miner, you know what a bid axe is 100%, whether you have
Yeah.
one or not.
Yeah, I would agree with you on the Avalon Q. I definitely see it. I mean, looking at it right now, it still is super relevant. It hasn't come and gone super quickly. I actually have one in my son's bedroom above my garage, heating his bedroom up there. It does a great job. Every night I'm flipping between, okay, like, do we do low or do we do medium based off of like the outside temperatures, how things are doing? And that a funny thing is even though it uses a pretty significant amount of watts, I still solo mine with it. But the nice thing is you could go either direction in that regard. I will be very curious, and I'm jumping ahead here, but this is just me. So Fluminer with their T3, which is for folks at home, is a Bitcoin miner that is going to be doing 115 terahash at 1700 watts. So it right on par with, and better from at least the high perspective than the Avalon Q. But they were going to release that like end of 2025. And I actually got an opportunity to chat with Fluminer about it. And they took my advice, and I'm really glad they did. It wasn't going to have power modes. So it was literally going to come at 115 terahash, but 1700 watts. Imagine that as a home miner in the US. Like 1700 watts, you would need a dedicated 15 amp. No one has that in a normal household. Like I have nothing
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing about the Avalon Q. It's actually even a little hotter than that at what 1800 watts is. It's technically not safe, or I wouldn't feel safe putting it on a 15 amp circuit. And really, most households are not built with 20 amp 110 volt circuits. So I built my house out with that. And I still, it's just that's a lot of wattage to put on a residential circuit. So even 1700 watts, basically you plug anything in, you're flipping a breaker. So yeah, if that's what ended up holding them up, I appreciate you pointing them in the right direction,
I'll
because
take the
yeah,
credit.
at one time they were like, hey, we should have these things ready to go by, I think they said like late November, early December. And then they were like, oh, a couple more things got to happen. So if that's what had to happen, I appreciate that, because power modes, it's one of those things that you don't think about until you're in a situation where you're trying to use it for like supplemental heating. And being able to turn it up and down is huge. So that's the same thing I do with my Avalon Q. Is I normally leave it on the medium, or the was it standard mode, but when it gets warm, because we've had some weird weather, I'll crank it down to low, and yeah, let it go. But it is curious to see, and I'm curious to see if the Fluminer definitely holds up, because it's less wattage and more hash rate. The only thing, my only gripe with it, which I don't have my hands on it yet, is what is the color scheme? What are we doing?
the gold,
It's
the
like
gold and
it's
the white.
gold,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we can just. I'm very simple. I would prefer just black, but
Yep.
I mean, I guess maybe they're trying to go with the gold to match their L2, the speaker. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
the nice thing about the Avalon Q is it's very like discreet. It's just like a black box. It could be a computer. It could be part of an entertainment system. Like you really don't know. But yeah, the Avalon Q actually, when I set it up in here, I just have a 15 amp like in my office setup and stuff. I actually had it on super right away, popped the breaker. Like was recording, popped the breaker like instantly. I remember in that video. But yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I actually had a pleasure of chatting with Fluminer about their unit months ago. And it was probably that time period that they were going to release it. And I told them flat out, I said, if you're going to take any advice, it is the fact that no one is going to buy this product. And here's why. You don't have power modes. We can't run that in the US on a simple 15. And they just didn't realize that. Like over in China, totally different over in China and Europe and everything. Like 20 amps are normal, versus that's not the case over here. And so they took it to heart and they made the changes for it. So we will see. We will see. I mean, the one thing Avalon Q does have going for it is the app. It is really nice to be able to pop open the app and change it. I doubt Fluminer developed an app in the meantime to be able to do this, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see. What's that one hash watcher that Panda recommends? Maybe
yeah.
that'll have some integration or something like that. We'll have to wait to see where they go from there.
I do know the L2 works on hash
Oh,
watcher. So I
yeah.
would imagine the what is it, the T3? Is that the new one?
Mm-hmm. T3.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I would imagine the T3 is, because oddly enough, if you dig around through their logs, the software that the L2 is using is a version of like Axe OS. So it
Oh,
shows up.
really?
Yes.
Wow.
So, and if you notice, like the user interface kind of looks like a reskinned Axe OS, which it's open source, and so hey, more power to them. I'm not throwing any shade. If anything, it makes it nice, because imagine if more people would use that base, and then you could tie it into your hash watcher. Or I would imagine there's probably going to be more competitive, softwares that come out to manage them all.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be nice. So looking back 2025, we talked about our favorite and the most interesting one we recommend. What miner would you say was the biggest bust in 2025 that like absolutely just flopped?
I I mean I didn't ever get into like the Kaspa, the big boy Kaspa miners, and I know a lot of those had come out previously, but then there was some releasing early and mid 2025. And anytime anybody asked me about them, my whole thing was just the emission schedule. Just it didn't leave enough time to for me to ever see return on investment. So, and I know a lot of people invested money into those Kaspa, like I, off the top of my head, I don't even know what models. What the KS5? Um, like if you got a late batch KS5s, I would say that you probably didn't return on investment. Like you did not make your money back, and I don't think you made any money unless you had ridiculously cheap power. Um, because Caspo was up there and it was profitable, and then it wasn't, and it fell off a cliff. And I personally know there's quite a few people that got stuck with quite a few Caspa miners. And I fell for the hype of the small miners. I loved my KS0 Ultras, and I still do. It's that small stuff that doesn't hurt to run, but those big boys. So I don't know if it's the KS5L. That's the light model, isn't it? But
Well, no, the
yeah,
KS5L is Ice River's full-size ASIC.
that's the
So
big
that
one. Okay.
Yeah, that came after the KS3 M that was in there, and then the latest and greatest is Bitmain's like KS7 that they came. It's like
KS7.
40 terahash model out there that very little people own, and I don't blame them for that at all.
Yeah, I think if you were late getting a hold of any of the Caspa miners, that was the flop there. Now, if you were early, people did really good on them. People did really good. Shout out Greater Good Mining, and watching that. I wish I was early on it, but
Yep.
hey, you can't win them all, right?
Well, I think that's the case too, where like I know a lot of people that just they buy up every new miner that comes out for a new coin, hoping to be that one in, 10 of them to be that opportunity. I think some that come to mind, and I don't remember time period, so I might be off, is like Alethium miners, where like those were quite a bust. I feel like Aleo too. I mean, I know Aleo's still a little bit profitable, but once they went to the staking mechanism, it just for me totally turned me off on that as a miner having to kind of stake. For those not familiar, they went to a staking mechanism to help out with liquidity because people were just selling their Aleo right into Bitcoin because it was the most profitable. And I don't blame them, especially with a newer coin. So they put a staking mechanism in place for required poolside. So I think for me, that really turned me off the most. Like if I was to pick like anything over the last year, I think it would really come down to Aleo and just some of those changes that they made.
Yeah. I That's another one. Like you said, the Aleo and the staking, and there was a couple pools that didn't require the staking. Small little snippet here. ZK Work was one of the more popular ones that you didn't have to stake on. They actually just had a an update yesterday that they're raising their pool fee 5%.
I'm not
They're
surprised.
more.
Yep.
So I think their fee was already like 7% to cover the additional staking, because as it goes on, you have to stake more and more. So it's almost like a dead end road. So I, yeah, that's definitely a bad one. I and I have a couple. What is it? The AE boxes that they're never going to be profitable. They're never going to make their money back. So just
Paperweights, unfortunately. Yeah, no, I get you.
door stops, right?
So pivoting a little bit there. So with electric rates continuing to rise in the U.S., like there's no sight of them going down. In that regard, what options do you think home miners have in 2026 now? Sorry to interrupt your video, guys, but wanted to give you guys a heads up that I launched a podcast. Yes, a podcast. It is called the Everyday Miner Podcast. You can find it on every major podcast platform out there. We actually just hit 70 episodes total over there. So please go over and check it out. You're going to find a variety of different content. You're going to find some old stuff from like 5 years ago that's still valuable. You're going to find some new stuff. You're going to find some of my long form content out there, but it's great for on the go, at the gym, your commute, or while you're at work when you went your crypto mining focus. Guys, go over and check it out on any major platform. It's called the Everyday Miner Podcast. I'll leave a link directly down below.
Well, a lot of people ask me all the time, what should I buy for mining? And it no longer do I steer them towards computers anymore, especially with the RAM prices right now. Buying a computer is probably the worst thing to do, unless you just need a computer. If you're going to actually use it for something else. But buying a dedicated rig is, in my opinion, probably not the way to go. When I do talk to people and they ask, I try to steer them into learning how to mine. So getting a solo miner, whether it be a BitAxe or the new Nano 3S from Avalon. I really like those models because they're small, they don't burn a lot of wattage, and those actually look like a nice finished product that you can like set on a countertop. Or for the longest time, I had mine on my nightstand and it had the little clock on top, but I've since swapped it out and I have a different miner there now. But it's nice. It's really.
What miner meets your standards in order to be on your nightstand right now? What did you swap it to?
It's funny you say that, but it's a miner that has a lot less hash rate, but it does mine SHA-256, and it is the Magic Miner dock charger thing.
Oh yeah,
I don't even know what the name of it is. It's like the MM01.
It's got that little screen on it. It's just like a little square. Okay.
Yeah, yep. The screen's actually decent sized. It's bigger than like a LilyGo screen or whatever, so bigger than like a hardware wallet size. But I like it because I use it as my alarm clock, and also it charges my phone because it's got a wireless MagSafe charger on top of it. And it has a 1 mega hash, basically a nerd miner, but it does slightly more than your average like ESP32. It does like 1.1 mega hash, but AKA it's never going to hit anything. But my alarm clock is now a solo miner. So that's what's on my nightstand now. Now, if the Nano 3S gets an update and it can make noise and be my alarm clock, then it might win that spot back. And that's one thing that, I've talked to some manufacturers. Magic Miner, actually, they've been really fun to talk to, because they were like, do you have any recommendations? And I'm like, hey guys, my wife wants an electric fireplace. Make a miner that's an electric fireplace, and I'll get it. I will literally buy it because she's going to force me to buy one eventually. We had one in our old house. We moved here, and I'm like, I do not want to pay for basically a space heater, but she still loved the look of it. But I'm like, there's so many things that could be, incorporated into some sort of mining, especially now with the availability. But that's getting into, down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see, especially Q1. There's rumors that Canaan's going to be releasing their next home series. So they have the A16 that's releasing as their full-size ASIC. But like now they have the new chips. What are they releasing for home miners? And like they did pretty well, in that regard with what they released previously with like the Nano 3S and the Canaan Avalon Q. So it's like, okay, what else are we going to get out of them? And what's that going to look like? So yeah, I definitely get it. I feel like, I think you had mentioned about this earlier, just based off of like the increased electric rates, that, full-size ASICs are not something that even home miners are really toying with anymore, or even trying to make work, just because of electric rates. So it's very much, hey, if you're interested in a full-size ASIC, let's talk to you about hosting. And then other than that, it's like, all right, let's talk about these home solo miners or these low watt miners. And I definitely see that as the direction more and more people are going. It's just the cost, when back last bull run, we didn't have this issue, right? Like the profit margins were so big between, what we were making versus like our operating costs with our electric rates, that I'll be honest, we didn't really look at our electric rates, because we were like, we don't care. We're making so much. It's not a big deal. But now that profit margin is so slim because that cost has gone through the roof and the profitability is so low on traditional pool mining that it's tough. I feel like the home solo miners are really the avenue to go, especially in 2026 at this point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know you had some of those days with those electric bills that they would come in and, they'd,
Mm-hmm.
at the time you didn't care, but now if I got a $1,500 electric bill, I would choke. So yeah, I try to keep mine
I don't
below.
want to talk about my electric bills right now. Okay, they're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
insane.
I try to keep mine below like 500, and that includes like
Yeah.
my hobby mining and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But
Yep.
it's yeah, electricity. We just without going solar, we're not getting we're not getting our money's worth anymore, and I fear that it's only going to get worse as time goes on.
So let's talk about that a little bit more. Perfect segue, Brandon. It's like it's your first time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so talking about solar, give my audience a little update on your solar project and what you have going on.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to find a guy that pulled a solar system off of his building because he was re-roofing it, and so I have right at about 6 kilowatts worth of panels, and I am not going to be mounting it on any roof of mine, but I have some land and I have a cleared field right up from my house, so I'm going to build an array. I'm going to get those up and do a separate building up there. So nothing is going to be attached to my house. It's 100% off grid. And then I've actually been watching, and I don't know if you follow him, but Ed's DIY Solar,
Mm-hmm. I'm
awesome
familiar
YouTube
with him, but I
channel.
don't follow him.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with him from watching your YouTube channel, actually.
fair enough. Yeah, so I reached out to him. There's been a bunch of other people that have helped me along the way, but I'm gonna build this out as like a proof of concept, and then if this works, then I'm gonna invest into higher density panels, and then just keep expanding. But my idea is I'm gonna get panels up, and I'm gonna get a small amount of battery backup up just to stabilize my voltage whenever there's cloud cover or intermediary sunlight, but I want to mine 95% on sunlight. And then when the sun goes down, have automation built in to go ahead and idle those miners down and then turn them off after they get to a cool down, because the hard power offs is the thing that kills your big miners for sure. So that's what Ed was working on, and he's actually open sourced a lot of his software because he is 100% solar mining on S19s because they're cheap. They still get pretty decent hash rate. And the big thing is if you have land or room where you can set the solar panels up, and then if you don't mind DIYing it, because having an installer come out makes this absolutely never return on investment. You can actually, get your money back and start making money in around 4 to 5 years. So if you're in a place where you're permanently going to be there, it's not a bad venture. And the panels are going to outlast your miners, and your panels is most of your investment. S19s now are becoming dirt cheap. I imagine, once we get one or two more generations, S21s will start popping up for dirt cheap. So you can just kind of keep rotating them out. He explained it to me, and I'm just like, you know what? I've thrown money in so many different areas. Let's do it. Let's do it on this. So, yeah, I'm actually, we just cleared the field because it had a bunch of overgrowth uh, the day before yesterday. So there'll be more content coming out about that, and you guys can watch me, put a bunch of janky stuff up. So it'll be fun.
What miner are you thinking putting on there as of now? Is there one that comes to mind that you're aiming for?
Yeah. So I have two S19J Pros that actually got sent down to me from Red Panda. We did a little Pokemon deal. And I'm gonna run those because the software that Ed went ahead and has already set up, he has them set up for S19J Pros, and he has them built in so it does the scale up and scale down per chip. He's like, if you're using a different model, it might not be exactly the same. And I'm like, I got them. Let's go with that.
Does
And
that run
but I
on
would
Brains or Lux, or what firmware do you put on there? Do you know?
he has the script that he has running is set up through Home Assistant using
Yeah.
Vanish.
Finish.
So
Okay. Nice.
yeah, he said he's like other ones he's used the Hive on, but it didn't have as good of like per chip control as Vanish did. I don't know about I've used Brains before. I don't know why he didn't use Brains, but I'm gonna use his model and then expand upon it from there. Because I would like to. I have an L7. I'd like to get my hands on maybe some more L7s for the right price, and then put those in there as well. But I don't know. Time will tell, right? So that's the big thing. But he has his S19J Pros, and he like scaling up with the power. So he said I have 6.5 kilowatts, but realistically in North Carolina, I'm gonna get like probably around 5 kilowatts out of that. So he's like, we'll have them load balanced, so they'll run probably about 24 to 2,500 watts per unit. And if you get extra sunlight, they'll scale up with it and they'll clock each of the chips up. So I was like, that's kind of that missing link because like I get it and I understand it, but I don't know how to do it. So yeah, like I can
Home
put the panels
Assist.
up.
Yeah, Home
Yeah,
Assist is actually one that I've been seeing running into more and more of with like a lot of this. Like it pretty much acts as like a third party, as a
yeah.
middleman between these different things, between different types of hardware, like with the solar and also with that. So that's fantastic. Which is actually really really great. Yeah, it's interesting. So, I last question I have on the solar for you is,
Mhm.
did you get was the solar free, the hardware, like the panels and stuff, or how much did you pay for that?
So originally we had negotiated out a price and I was supposed to come out and it was going to be like $500 and basically and it was just the panels. But while I was there, he was like, if you want, take the batteries, take the inverter, take the wiring. So like my cost per panel was already cheap. And then they are lead acid batteries, but some of them are only 1 to 2 years old. And I've already tested about half of them, and they're all still in really good shape, like health wise. So I'm gonna use those for the time being, but I will have to get more batteries. But yeah, that system was really cheap. I almost consider it free at $500 for what I paid. Now there is actually a reseller in Virginia that I found, and I'm gonna give him some love if it turns out to be as good as it is. But he has 400-watt panels for $50 a piece. And if you buy a pallet of them, which is 30 panels, I think he said, he does a 10% discount. But you do have to go up there and you would have to, bring a trailer and pick them up because shipping on solar panels is ridiculous. Um, but yeah, so that's the big thing. And they're all used panels. So these can't be installed on a house and tied in to the grid, at least not in North Carolina. Unfortunately, some kind of laws and rules and regulations. I don't know all the gist of it, but that's why they end up being cheap. And I think most states are the same way. If you're putting them on a roof, they either had to have been on that roof or they have to be new.
Hmm. That's incredible.
So
Like like that's a quite a find, to be honest with you, because like most people, you're not going to find a whole system even several years old to like build out like what you're doing, because like that's the biggest one is your upfront capital when you don't find something like you did. I mean that's definitely worth waiting for. So to give people an idea, I knew we were going to talk about solar, so I pulled some numbers as to why I'm so anti-solar. So for PA, Pennsylvania is listed the 44th out of the 50 states. So number one is the best, 50 is the worst. Pennsylvania
yeah,
is number 44. And why that comes in is it's based off of sunlight. Pennsylvania has 2,600 hours per year of sunlight. Clear days of a year is 87 days a year of clear skies. So these are all factors you have to consider with sunlight. In addition to that, summer peak hours are only 4.4. So in the
oh wow,
June, July, August, it's not even half of a day, guys. It's a very small fraction of a day. And then the winter time, it's only 2.7. So like right now, I don't even look at the amount of like solar, like, so I have a solar system on my house. I bought it well before I got into mining about 6 years or 7 years ago. And I was one of those people that spent $26,000 to have someone come install it. It's a 12 kilowatt system, 42 panels. And when I look back on it, what I know now, like I didn't know anything then. I was just like, cool, I'm going to have zero electric bill. Well, that's not the case. Even then it was like 3 months out of the year where I ever had zero. And then outside of that, it was kind of a help to offset it. So I think hearing your side, because I really wanted to hear your side of it and like the avenue you're going and your approach to it, it 100% makes sense. One, it's cool as shit. Like, I think that's awesome. Like, to be able to do that yourself. But I feel like without finding that deal, like, the hard part is, would it have justified it to spend the capital? And I guess what I'm hearing is it still would if you did it yourself. But if not, it doesn't make sense to spend all the money like I did, put it on your roof, to pay people to install it. Would love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I've wanted to do solar for a while. Even my last house, I had somebody come out and quote putting solar on my house and also my detached garage. But getting solar installed is very expensive. I'm sure you already know that. And installing it yourself, it saves you a significant amount of money. And then also finding the avenue. And I was wondering why there's so many of these reseller of used solar panel places, because there's like one in South Carolina. There's not any in North Carolina, but there's like two in Virginia, and the solar panels are cheap. And I always wondered why, and come to find out that's because, you can't install used solar panel. It's kind of like, I guess I guess people do put used tires on their car, but not normally suggested, right? But there's a lot more regulation on tying into the electric grid than the tires on your car, unfortunately. But yeah, so we have what's called Duke Progress, Duke Energy in North Carolina. There's no other options, so we are stuck with one electric provider. And I know if you want to do a grid tie system here, you do have to use one of their approved installers. So there's only the last time I looked, like 20 something companies. And this has been probably 3 years ago when I was at my old house, because I was trying to shop around, but everybody's prices are sky high. So installing solar on your house, at least here, doesn't make sense. We don't get a ton. I mean, we get more sunlight than you do, that's for sure. But we're definitely not like California or anything. So this is an experiment. It's just, throwing a little bit of money at it, but it's still, if you can find the panels for the right price and go get them. And then inverter wise, that's shout out again, Ed's DIY Solar. Go check him out. He did some reviews because some of these inverters are ridiculously expensive. But guess what? Vivor has knocked off a solid 240 volt, 6.5 kilowatt inverter, and it's like $200. And he's actually done the side by side comparisons, running them using an infrared thermometer, and he actually showed a S19J Pro running on one of them. I think he ran two on one, and he was saying the only thing that he recommended is putting a little bit extra cooling, because they had like a tiny little 80 millimeter fan to cool the entire inverter. But he was like, other than that, everything's solid. And he actually broke it open and showed all the internals, stuff that goes way over my head. But what I heard is it works, and I'm not putting it in my house. So worst case scenario, the little building up there in the field burns up. So I never wanted to get sketchy with electrical in my house, but outside of my house, it's okay. That's why I loved my detached garage at my old house, because if we were trying something, it's okay. But I'm not playing, and that's another thing I tell people: don't play around with electrical in your living space. It's not worth it. So this isn't 2017. You don't have to get your 1080 Ti making that $15 a day. It'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing, like, I think you've definitely convinced me from the perspective of, if you're looking to go the route you're going with solar, totally tinkerer hobbyist side, like buying cheap, slowly building with it, doing it yourself, running hardware super low, like it makes sense. But I am absolutely not of the school of thought just based off of what I know. And now, granted, I will have to say, like, those of you guys that are in Arizona shouting at me right now because you guys get 7 to 8 hours of peak sun a day and like it 100% makes sense. Great. But like for me, like, and those at least in the same boat, I would say it does not make sense to go spend $26,000 like I did. But granted, it was beforehand. Go spend that money just to offset your electric. Because like right now, knowing what I know now, it would like if I'm at 16, 17 cents, what's it going to bring me down to? 14 cents? Like it doesn't make sense. Like the upfront capital just it doesn't make sense, guys. Like really you have to look at different alternatives, which is exactly what you did, and I love it. Like I have been watching these videos, following along with them, like eager to see. So when's the building coming? When is it? Are you building it? Are you ordering it? What's your deal there?
Well, so my brother had a shed, and we actually showed it off years ago down at my parents' house, which is about a mile down the road. I was gonna take that, but after talking to Ed and finding out what I needed for the inverter, I'm gonna just build it out myself because it's gonna be I'm gonna keep it super small, super tight, and then I'm gonna run the ASICs in the middle of it because originally I was gonna like slam the ASICs up against the wall so that way they're like directing it out. But he's like actually having a little bit of heat in there is good for the inverter, like temperature regulation. And then I'm just gonna control the heat with like I think it was an AC Infinity system that he recommended on a thermostat, and then have it up in the gable. So I'm gonna build out. I had two different designs, but like an 8x8 almost looked like an outhouse with a door on it. So you come in, and then there's a couple miners just lined up on a bench. On that one, I should be able to do right at 6 miners, and then have 3 inverters. So it's going to be 1 inverter for each 2 miners. And then that first 20 panels would run the first 2, and then I would need to build out 2 more arrays to run those next 2. And then that would pretty much fill up that area right there. And from that point, if everything's good and I'm liking how it's going, I do have more land available at a remote location. My dad's got some land, and that's out in the middle of a field. So I would basically just replicate that, and that's going to be my proof of concept. So my goal is to get it all operational before the end of winter. We just need to get these super cold random days out of our way, because it's like, man, oh, it's a great day today, and then tomorrow it's like freezing cold. So it's hard to get anything done.
Well,
and I'm sure people up north are the Canadians are like, you don't know cold.
That's right. Well, listen, I know a guy who's built a few sheds. So if you have any questions on airflow, feel free, I'll hit them up for you. Okay. All right. I'll hit them up for you.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get up with them after this.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, I appreciate you joining me today to talk about mining in 2025, 2026, and your upcoming solar project. Guys, I'm going to leave links to his channel down below. Go over, subscribe to it, follow along his solar mining journey. Brandon, thank you very much for joining me today.